Hey guys, so I'm just going to apologize in advance for my voice today. It's either allergies or I'm getting sick. Either way, it's one or the other. So let's just get to it. This is kind of how I see the ES right now, and what I'm going to do here, because this is really driving me nuts. There is no after hours background. It's exhausting. If I take a look at the ES, this is what it looks like. And to me, I really don't see much to say or do here as long as I can get over this peak VWAP. If I can, that's great. I seem to be spending the most time over it today that I've spent since it developed on Thursday. And I think that's because of the minutes today. So two things that you should be aware of. And I'll put it in a little banner. Let's get a little banner going here. Here it goes. Let's use this one. You have the 1 p.m., you have the 10-year bond auction today, and it's really important to watch that today. Also, you have FOMC minutes, and you need to watch that 2 p.m. because they're going to be wild, because the dot plot already told you that they're going to be wild. The other thing that you should really focus on, let me just put this out there. That's at FOMC minutes 2 o'clock, and then we'll just put this out there. If you are on the wait list, look for an email today. There's a bunch that are going out today. Also, Microsoft got an upgrade, and I think that's really important. $600 target, and I think that's really, really important. Let me put that down here, and we'll click on that, get that going. Give me a second. I'm going to go get my coffee. All righty. Okay, groovy. Sorry, guys. So in regards to the ES, that's really how I see it. And what I would say is you are clearly above this line way more than you've been. I think that's very important. Let's see how it plays out. Does it do something like this and then fail again? You know, I don't know. I really think that the ES today, to me, I pay real close attention to this. I'm most interested, let's drop this down. I'm most interested, and we'll put you right there. And, or is it really there? I think it's here because you didn't close there. Yep. So, and what the response is to 2 o'clock today, because I think that the response might be much better than people think. I really do. I think it could be much better than people think. So, sorry about that. So if I take a look at this, I like it. I like what I'm saying. Let me just go through this, make sure I'm good here. Give me 1 second. Yep, I'm good. All right, cool. So then if we go and take a look at the NQ, and we'll drop it down like it's hot, and see where you're at. See, you've been fighting this for some time, so I don't even know the validity of it as much anymore because you're running buckshot all over it. And when you start running buckshot all over it, it's like, does it really matter? You know, because these were great shorts Sunday and Monday, like they were perfect short areas. I do think it matters because you are flipping it and you did stop here. So yeah, it does still kind of matter, even though here it was just kind of like, you know, running all over it. I mean, there's an expression for that, but I'll keep it clean. It's too early in the morning. So for me, that's definitely something that I would pay attention to. I'd watch the 1 o'clock. I'd really watch the bond auction. I got a really good read yesterday and comments and emails on the way I did yesterday's Tuesday, Technical Tuesday, which was super informal, just going through the technicals and what I see going on out there. I might start doing that on every Tuesday with the response that I got for it, which was just, hey, here we are, Technical Tuesday. Let's just run through what's going on out there instead of getting into all the macro, fundamental, and technical stuff and some of the trades that we're doing. I think just doing the technical side of the market was actually really very helpful to people. Perhaps it was something that I did in the past and I don't realize how helpful it was, but we'll start doing more of that, I think, and go from there. But anyway, if we see the TNX and we watch this, you're going to want to watch. Oh, look, I made a mess. Well, you can't see it, but I made a mess. Hold on. Hold on. All right. God, guys are the biggest babies when we get sick. All right, TNX. So if you watch this 450, we just want to see how we act there. And I don't know that you're going to get there today. I actually think you might see bond buying. I think you might see bond buying. I don't think you're going to see bond selling, but this is my big red list that I look at every single morning that has like all the stuff that I was interested in at some time or still am interested in it. And, I don't know. I don't really see much here that I got to really go giddy for. I did think watching Micron yesterday was really interesting. And I know people love this SIRI now, and I just think they're delusional about what it really does. But maybe they think that those satellites are going to be used in other arenas, but I don't really have much here. If I went and just did the basics, which I think is really what we should do today, and then just drop it down to questions. But I'm sure you guys are going to ask other stuff like this SBET is on absolute fire. You guys already saw this. A bunch of people were playing it in the room yesterday, and you're already setting up again. But that thing's on fire today. I'm sure you guys are looking at that. I think we're just going to stick with the, pardon me, I'm just going to stick with the Teslas, the Nvidias of the world, the Apples and the Microsofts, and then I'll take questions. But if I was to look at Tesla, I had a really good trade on Tesla yesterday. I nailed it. I bought it perfectly. I was up about $2-3 on it. And quite frankly, I was happy as a clam. It looked perfectly on the hourly. And then I just get Elon'd, and it's a problem. People are like, oh, it's a problem. Whether you think it is or not, it's a problem for institutions. They're not going to want the risk. And so they're just going to look at this and go, oh, I'll get out of it. And I did see someone today post something like, oh, no, Elon wants this to happen because he only wants true believers. Okay, well, it's not a cult. It's a $1 trillion company. So he does want institutional support because if you don't have it, you're going to have a problem. So it's definitely an issue. I don't know how they're going to address it. I don't know how the board's going to address it. Nobody really seems to care. They're all either family members or in his pocket, so it doesn't really matter. But it's definitely an issue, and it's definitely something that people are going to have to deal with. So from my perspective, it's unownable. I think it's tradable at this point. And if I was to look at the trading levels of it, I would be leaning towards you're probably heading lower. If I had to really say where this is going, I don't really see a way at this point that if you broke this, I really don't see a way, pardon me, that you don't retest this level. Like if you start cracking here, I just don't see how that's not feasible. Pardon me, but I really think it is. So I just don't even see how you wouldn't even test, 294. And then when you start doing that, man, like it's on. It's actually probably even tighter than the way I just did it, isn't it? It's probably like right up here. I'm surprised someone didn't yell at me. But you're right up here. So you're right there. And if you start cracking on that, it's a problem. It's a pickle. It's a blessing or it's a problem. It's a problem. So you see it? And whether you hold or you don't hold remains to be seen. I mean, you're way down here. You usually do bounce. I just don't know what that bounce is going to get us. And when you're looking at it from that perspective, like here's the RSI. That was kind of telling, I guess. But, I looked at it from a longer term, like, no, I'm going to swing trade it because I think I can get up to this 315. And then he just started, one of those ketamine tweet storms that he does. And here we are. So it is what it is. There's not much more to say about it. I'm not really happy. So, but that's how I say it, whatever. If we look at Nvidia, I just think that people aren't getting this yet. People that think that this is overvalued. AI does not exist without it. AI is going to be in and of itself probably do 5 trillion in revenue. I think Goldman said they're going to do like add 10% to GDP over 10 years just through AI. So it's not going away. You've been in a base for a year. Yes, this is a base. You might want to say it's not a base. I don't really care. Agree to disagree. It's a base. I tend to mark off these peak VWAPs, and then I watch how we act at those peak VWAPs, and you can see how we acted at that peak VWAP, right? I mean, you can see that, I'm sure. So then when it lifted, I just added to it because why not? To me, Nvidia is like air. Can you really have enough air? You flip this, and you're going to see the panic set in today. You're going to see people start to realize like, oh crap, I should have bought this. And then you're going to come in tomorrow and you're going to see it again. But they are definitely buying the name. And I think it's going to continue. I bought yesterday. I bought more. I haven't done anything with it. I would be looking at your leading names and it's time to kind of put some things on and forget about. A lot of people are going to look at this. If I could give you advice, and it's like trading advice, it's not financial advice, but a lot of people, when they look at this stuff, they're like, oh, I could have bought it down here, so I'm just going to wait. You got to look at the hand you're dealt right now and now say to yourself, what do you do? Like, okay, this is what you have right now. It's 846. What do you do? Is there something to do? You need to look at this. And that's up to you what you do, but that's where my head is with it. I don't think I could be any clearer about it. You can agree to disagree and tell me to look at AMD, but as any woman would say, I think the girls in the room love like Pascal. If you can date Pascal, you're not dating the dishwashing guy, even though they try to tell you that in the movies. Microsoft with the $600 upgrades, absolutely freaking huge. I think this is the thing that finally gets it over. I think this becomes the cat's pajamas. I really do. And I think Oracle as well. That's pretty much what I wanted to cover, and I'll take questions and we'll go from there. And again, I apologize for my voice. What's up, John? Yeah. There's no volume because I don't think people want them to know. Like that's really where my head is with this. I think you're not seeing any volume because I think they're afraid. So I think what they're doing is they're legging into it. Sometimes, and this gets really complicated, but sometimes light volume is just them being really, really sneaky. Like, oh no, just buy this amount every day. Just buy this amount every day. And it's great until it's not that anymore, until somebody else finally steps up. But if you really look at what's going on here, see this bar? I mean, it's every day. It's right around the same dollar amount every single day. Say it? Like, that's not a coincidence. That's a bunch of people that are just basically saying, hey, we want to own X a day, and they're going to their brokers, their institutions, and they're just buying. It's never this orderly. And the only reason that you're ever that orderly is because people are trying to scale in, but they don't want you to know they're scaling in. Like, it's very rare if you look at this chart over a year and that you find an area where you have 3 days that are that close to one another on a vol scan. You're not going to see it very often. And so really what they're doing is they're being stealthy, and it's one of those things where they're stealthy until they're not. Because it's not like they have this big cabal meeting where they all sit around and go, oh, we're going to be stealthy on this one, because they're all competing against one another, right? But it's one of those things where they look at it and go, oh, crap. So one of the sayings I have in the room a lot, John, is, oh, they're eating up supply. That's what they're doing here. They're eating up supply until they can't eat up supply anymore. And then you know what they're doing? Not eating up supply anymore. And that's when it gets super interesting. So keep that in mind. That's how I say it anyway. But I think it's going a lot higher. Good morning from New York. Good morning from Miami. Thanks, man. I got a lot of compliments on that. As long as the dollar drops, I think you're cool there, man. I really do. I think you're great there, Kev. As long as the dollar drops, I think you're good. My concern is always what's next? What's the next problem? But Trump has really made this about buy American, and people are like, oh, we'll buy Boeing planes. Okay. And as long as the dollar keeps dropping, you're fine. the dollar stays under 100, you're good. People always worry about the dollar. Everyone became a dollar expert. And I mean this in the nicest way. Was your life affected when it was here or here? So I always tell people, like, that when everyone gets worried about, oh, the dollar is here, the dollar is there. And here's .com, and you can see where you're at, right? And if I go back to like 95, which is right there, and we look at that level, here's 05, here's us coming out of that level, and then we explode, right? In 14. Wake me at 80. Like, that's when I'll get concerned. If we start breaking 80, I'll start getting concerned. Other than that, I really don't care. I care from the standpoint of like what companies are going to benefit the most. And those companies are pretty clear. They're pretty clear companies, right? So like, who's really going to benefit from that? Give me 1 second here. Let me see something. Like, what companies are really going to benefit from this? To me, the companies that I think benefit from something like this are really the industrials. And so I think you're in good shape there, Kev. I do. I'm not feeling that at all. And I'll show you why. And it doesn't mean I'm right. So I came up, I rejected, I've got this bar. I can't close over that bar. So if I broke it down and I just look at the open, high, low, close, apologies for the sniffles, but let's just go old school here, right? And here, I'll make these thick. So you can really see them. All right, cool. And let's just drop that bar right there. Let's just mark that off for a sec, right? Cool. And then let's just mark this off up here. All right. So what's been happening there that whole time? I open, they sell it. I open, they sell it. I open, I almost close in the same area. I open, they sell it. And I'm riding this level. So like, if I looked and said, that's my close, my close bar right there. One time closed under it, one time closed where? On it, on it, on it. Like, you're in this area, right? Do I really need to get involved in that? Not really. Now, the only thing that you could argue, and I know we're getting super technical, but you have to with these when you're like this, you could argue this. It's getting tighter and tighter and it's not breaking. Cool. Wait for an outside bar. Then you just wait for an outside bar, right? Sometimes it helps to just distill this stuff a little bit. And when I see this kind of thing, you got to be careful. And I know people don't think this, but like, okay, here you were. Here you are. You have a negative divergence and you're at all-time highs. And people are like, well, does that matter? And like, to me, I always point to stuff like this. Well, here's Roku, and that hit highs. This hit highs again, and there's the divergence. And people always are like, oh, Roku's a different company. Than Meta. Okay, so was Alta Vista, right? So was Alta Vista. So, it is what it is, guys. Like, when you start looking at these patterns, they're just patterns. Like, don't convince yourself it's anything but. So it's very similar to me. And, the question really here is, he's buying a lot of talent and a lot of money. And one, is he overpaying for talent? I don't know. I don't think you can really ever overpay for talent, quite frankly. I am in the school of thought of that. Two, pardon my voice, if he's not overpaying, when does he see the fruition of that? Three, he's not, as much as people think it is he an innovator? Not really. He acquires, and he's good at acquiring, and he's good at copycatting. He's better at taking your thing and making it better than his thing, right? He just is. He's he's a genius at it. You look at Reels, what he did to Snapchat, all that stuff. But he named the company Metaverse. There's no Metaverse anymore. So like, is he that visionary? So I think the jury's out on that from a long-term perspective. So I'm not really rushing into that. Now, if it gets better technically, I'm interested. I do think it's interesting that he's out there buying talent the way he is. I do. And I think some of these behemoths are going to come home and to roost a little bit in a couple of years. But that's another story for another time, Jared. This is the cool place. Interesting link. So let's go through that. What's up, Jacob? Interesting group. So I actually think these names are setting up, like left, head, right. And here's the thing about this, because you can't really say it this way, but if you were to flip this up, your right shoulder would be greater than your left shoulder. And the bigger your right shoulder is versus your left shoulder is the more momentum that these things have. So like when the right shoulder is lower than the left, and this is for shorts and longs, the more power that these moves to the downside usually have. So like if you said this is your left shoulder here, and then here's your right shoulder. Thanks, John. So like here's your left shoulder, here's your right shoulder, here's the head. You broke. Oh, that makes sense, right? Your right shoulder is definitely bigger than your left shoulder. Here's your head. There's your neckline. Like, you know, duh and or hello. You really don't need me for much more than that, probably, and you probably already saw it yourself, man. But that's how I see that. I do think that these are going to be the names next year that crush. I think what you're starting to see here is that people realize they're going to start crushing in a year, and they're trying to get ahead of these names and buy them. I don't know that that's the right move. You know, I don't know that that's the right move, but maybe it is, man. But I do like the space. I am playing in the space. BLDR, very similar. I think you're better off personally with something like owning a Pulte, owning a Toll, but you know, I could be wrong there. GRBK is like the big one that's like the high growth engine of all of them. NVR is best in class. NVR is like, it's best in class. It just is. But you know, we'll see. And there's a bunch of them that are trading, Jacob, at like book value. So you might want to just run a scan of book value, Jacob, and cash flow positive. Yeah, I saw this. And you have like VGK too, right? So they're moving. And there's the DAX, and here's DBay. So they are moving. So we will see. AMET's the cheapest in the space right now. You know, AMET is the cheapest of all the semis on a valuation basis. I think the only one that's cheaper is ASML. I think they're the only ones. SRFM. I don't know why it's moving, buddy. I don't know. I don't know enough about it as to why it's moving. I'd want to know more. Not really that interested. What else you got for me? Did they come out with some other bad news, or it's just such a crowded short? I don't know what the bad news is today. You know, I'm not surprised that there's bad news, but I don't even know what it is. I'm not surprised by it. You know, I'm not, but we'll see what it does and where it goes and what it, you know, it is what it is. But I'm not overly surprised by that. Kava, I don't know, man. You know, people love this name, but I think you've had your day. Watch the IPO VWAP. You've been fighting it. It's freaking kill me. What else we got here that's of interest? ANF I like a lot. You're trading at 8 times earnings. You just have to have a lot of patience, man. You just have to wait. You're going to wait months. That's how I am with it. I'm just sitting with it. Yeah, I mean, I own a lot of this. I don't know what else to tell you, Troy. Like, I own a lot of it, man. Good morning from Miami. There's really not much for me to say about it. Probably one of my largest positions. At one point, I think it was bigger than the Nvidia position. Hold on. No, Nvidia is bigger now. PBAI. I mean, you're kind of falling. You're getting these shooting stars. You got to be careful when you start getting these BMNR, like shooting star positions. You just got to be super careful when you start getting those, especially when you're bidding up. It's going to be really, really careful of that. What's this one doing? You're up again yet? Yeah, you're having trouble with that 19. Got a seller there. Happy Wednesday. Sophie looks great. It does. It looks really good. And you got news coming out today that I think could actually help it. So I think it looked great. Sound, I saw it yesterday. I mean, it's definitely breaking out. It looks fantastic. It's really not my kind of trade here. But it does look great and you have huge volume. But you're running into all this stuff. But it is acting fantastic. And you know, if you're in there, congrats. I know a bunch of people in the room were whacking that one around yesterday. Hey, Lise, happy Wednesday. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to help the company or not. What I always get out of this is I always look for patterns. So like, here's that candlestick that's in control of that whole pattern. And then here's another one that's in control of that whole pattern. Say it. And so like it took months and months for this stuff to work off. And so here we are again. So do I even want to play with that thing? So like when I see that, I'm like, well, it took from December to end of Jan to wear that one off. Here's that control bar. It took from February to what, April to wear that one off. Like, do I really even want to get involved? Probably not. You know, if I had huge volume, maybe. You know, it's like you're just grabbing a tiger by the tail, man. I don't see it. I don't see the reason, but you are. Look, you're not really breaking it, but you're grabbing a tiger by the tail. You know, it's just one red bar. It's like this. You know, everything's great. It's the greatest trade in the world until, you know, you hit 188 and then you're at 164 wondering, like, questioning your existence. I think you have to be super careful here with some of this stuff. You know, I think you have to be super careful with some of this stuff. What I tend to do with these names, like these high flyers, is just look at like the 3, the 5, and the 8 and see where you are. And it's not so much that I'm below them, because there actually could be buys when they're doing that. Do they start stacking? Meaning, does this green start getting, you know, on the bottom, and does this red get on top, which it hasn't done since this, because that might be a time for me to move on. And, you know, people, it's not easy with these names. Like here, you know, I'll just show you this where everyone's like, oh, I'm going to buy it because it's, you know, it looks like it's going to go. And then you look at this on a 15 and it told you, you know, you had a problem, and then you had the opportunity, and then it's telling you have a problem again. So, and it's telling you have a problem again. So I tend to look at that with those kinds of names like Root and use that as like a marker for me. But if I go and take a look at something like that right now, and I flipped like this, it's not really an outright buy for me. It's very different than if it was like, oh, I'm here and I ran up and I pulled back there and all these are aligned. Like 131 here versus 131 here is a different, completely different type of trade, just like it's a completely different type of trade there. To me, it is. To you, it might not be, but to me, it is. So it's about that. It's about placement. You got Ricardo? I think you just have the same issue. How's this look? Same thing, same breakdown, same thing. You would think that with the tariffs and everything that they would be out there buying our eggs. What's up, Mitch? But they're not really, are they? What's up, Bill? Coming from the nation's capital. Bonjour. Good morning. Game. I think you asked about that. I don't know, man. I don't know anything about it, dude. I really don't know. Bono. Do you have a lot of volume on it? I really don't know anything about this. I would really need to know a couple things about it. Hold on. $500,000 short, floats 24 million shares. I don't think you're going to have enough to move it, personally. I don't think you're gonna have enough to move it, man. I'm just gonna run through this super quick, see what we have. Pepsi? I'm not gonna buy Pepsi. I don't know if they get defensive. Maybe it does go. No. It has been, hasn't it? I mean, it has been. I had this thing in the teens. I had it back here. And then it just started rolling over. And then earnings, man. And then since that earnings, good Lord, it's just been grinding. They've just been buying good earnings since May. That's all they've been doing. It's crazy. Straight up. Nothing to do with it. Like literally straight up. It's nuts. I think it's an outright short. I've been saying, I know people get pissed at me in the room when I say it, but I think it's an outright short. You're trading at 58% over NAV to own cash and Apple. Okay. Like for what purpose? Like seriously, like for like what purpose? Because I like Warren, I'm going to pay 58% more. Like it just doesn't make any sense to me, like at all. Like if you look at Apple stock and you add 58% to it, or you looked at your cash position, would you pay 58% more? Like why? For what godforsaken reason would you do that? Because he's nice? It's not nice. It just doesn't make any sense at all to me. Like it really doesn't. I think Circle looks fantastic. I think CoreWeave's going to be very interesting, but I don't know if today's the day. You're going to have all the ARBs again. Looks like they're trying to rock it, but you know, you can always just buy cores along with it now, but I don't think so. The Circle is going to get a lot of attention. I just think you're kind of wedged in there. I mean, I would short this. If you're asking me what I would do, I would just short it. I think this is probably pretty much the easiest short in the world. You know, I like it. Where's it going to go? It's going to wind up breaking. I mean, this thing's going to just get destroyed. Even if Berkshire goes sideways, this thing's going to get destroyed. Like these kinds of, when you start realizing what these things are and how they're calculated, they're the easiest shorts out there. I shorted this. I did exceptionally well with it. So I probably really should be looking at it again because you hit my DTL and here we are again. So maybe I'll just take a look at it again. It's not the same trade though, but you know, eventually this thing will come back to like 20 bucks. They'll just bleed because if the stocks don't move, they just bleed out on the option front. But you know, I mean, that's a pretty big rejection today. You can see that as well. So, you know, that's where my head is with it. I shorted this one too. This one was a little harder because people love the name and it's just kind of grinding along here. So instead of that, what I've been doing is just selling puts and that's working a lot better. Back in the day, you know, everyone seems to think Uber's going to do so well. And I mean, everybody's buying this damn thing. So, you know, what do I know? With these autonomous cars, like, I mean, seriously, look at this thing. Like it's on fire. It's crazy. I mean, it's perfect setup, perfect breakout. Like it's really nice. I don't own it, but I see it. Congrats if you're in it. You know what's funny about BlackBerry? I actually think there's a market for somebody to come in and steal market share from Apple in the US. But I don't know how the heck BlackBerry would ever do that. You're welcome, Lisa. I just think you have to get through the ARBs. I think you have to get through the ARBs with it. Yes, I really do. The SBET is very interesting. You have huge volume there. I do think you're going to get through it today. I do. I think you're going to get through that today. You already tried once, and I do think you're going to get through it. But the question really is like, where do you go from there? So I would rather see if this thing like falls apart and then get involved. And, you know, then you use like 16 as the stop, or you probably have to try and stay in it for like a day or two to really see if you can catch it. But yeah, this thing's not done. You can say it. This was really the day to buy it when everybody puked it. But I think you're going to wind up rallying pretty hard today. You have a lot. It doesn't look like it, but you have a lot of like relative volume that's going on in there today. A lot. 1 p.m. and then 2 p.m. You got to watch jump. So I got to jump, guys. Trade to win.